Good morning. It's 9:43 a.m. on the September 2nd, 2023. I had to put the hair back in order to, do a couple things. Being mobile, I want to make sure I got my things taken care of. First of all, I want to show you some things you might have seen in a certain farm. That file cabinet right there. And it's a very important file cabinet here at Fort America. Done what I needed to do in order to weatherproof as much as possible. I want to show you some things that are in a specific drawer. It's part of what could be considered your Texas history, or rather your Texas minerals. Every single book I'm about to show you was a book somebody tried to throw out. They just decided to get rid of it. If they didn't give it out or put it on the table as part of something at one of the library kind of liquidation events, and they literally tried to throw it out with the intention of it either going to a landfill or going someplace where it was going to be incinerated so you wouldn't have it again. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. Some of these books I've seen before in other places. Some of them I haven't. I'm going to go ahead and introduce you to a couple of them. They seem to have a theme. Maybe you'll recognize some of them. First, let's go ahead and start over here. This right here is a journal that they used to have, a historical journal here in Texas regarding East Texas. I read through some of the things here. That picture has a very important historical event occurring with it. It tells a little bit about the history of East Texas, and not exclusively related to the history of the gas and oil sector, but a number of these books do talk about the history of the gas and oil sector, including this journal here. This right here is actually a book regarding the relationship the Texas Railroad Commission has, including to the gas and oil sector. Now, this is a book that I understand was written for the regular person. You don't necessarily need to be the attorney general or some fancy gas and oil lawyer in order to understand this and understand the relationship the Railroad Commission has, not just to oil and gas, but to other matters in the state of Texas. By the way, for the record, the meetings of the Railroad Commission are by law required to be open to the public, and there's a number of considerations regarding the Railroad Commission and the open meetings laws in the state of Texas, as well as the Public Information Act and mandates for reporting. These other books are what I understand to be classics, including classics regarding the history of Texas. This book right here, The Last Boom, regarding James A. Clark and Michelle H. Halbouty. It's talking about one of the major oil field discoveries here in Texas. Now, this is an older version. As a matter of fact, I think it's a first edition of this particular book. This right here, these two books are actually about individuals that were very important, not just in the gas and oil sector, but the manner in which the gas and oil sector over time has developed as part of the economic and even political system in the state of Texas. This book, The Super Americans, I've read through it a bit, and it has a lot of very important information talking about the context. It says a picture of the life in the United States is brought into focus bigger than life in the land of the millionaires, Texas. John Bainbridge. I've read through a little bit of this book. It's very exciting on a certain level. It's also very good fodder, or rather good input for those that are developing their critical analysis and critical thinking skills. This book here is not quite a biography. It's more than a biography. And it's regarding Ling, The Rise, Fall, and Return of a Texas Titan by Stanley H. Brown. Now, my understanding is these are actually classic books on a history of a certain element of Texas history, but it doesn't stop there. Another book that has come recently is this one, Texas Tornado, the autobiography of a crusader for women's rights and family justice. It's by Louise Ballerstedt Raggio with Vivian Anderson Castleberry with a foreword with Ann Richards. How many of you know who Ann Richards is? Well, let me ask you, how many of you knew who Louise Ballerstedt Raggio was before today? I didn't know who she was until I found this book. Fascinating woman. I haven't read the entire book, but what I have read through is very important, including the relationship she has to northern Texas, including the area that I'm in right now. There's other books, too, that I understand are historical books, but some talk about the sector. This one right here, it's called One Way to El Dorado by Hollister Noble. It's a book about somebody who was involved with the creation of the railroad sector in Texas, somebody who both worked on the railroad and had a different relationship. You can see that map right there of the route of the specific railroad we're talking about, and he has a dedication. It says, To the men who work on the Hill, to certain officials in the Southern Pacific of Santa Fe, to the division superintendent of yet another Western road whose prompt decisions narrowly averted a disaster very similar to that encountered by the mythical Great Western Railway on an eventful Christmas Eve. This story is respectfully dedicated. Well, right there. Christmas Eve, guys. All right? Right there. One Way to El Dorado by Hollister Noble. Then there's this one here. And let me tell you, this is a fascinating read. Horse Trading by Ben K. Green. Now, this is an exclusive to Texas. But there's a lot of information in this book, including in the information in this book, it's not just horse trading. You may or may not know, in northern Texas, in the area that many people are in right now, is a place that is a big place for mules. And so the consideration of mules, even donkeys, but specifically mules in this particular area is also important. This person here not only talks about his relationship to this area of the country and raising horses, trading horses, going and meeting with people, determining why people needed horses, what they used horses for. But he also talks about mules and the manner in which mules were evaluated as well. It's a very, very important book. He writes in a very specific kind of style, almost conversational. But then we get to this. Very important. All three of these books, in some way, present the history of the Republic in the context of the Revolutionary period right here in Texas. And let me tell you, what you can find is absolutely fascinating. All right? First book here, you see this? An Informal History of Texas by Tolbert. My understanding is that at some point, this was considered to be a classic book on the history, not only of the Alamo, but of the early Republic. It has a very specific story here about what came to be known as the Yellow Rose. It's not the same as some of the stories you might hear these days, by the way. There's also another version of the Alamo in here, and also a version not only about Sam Houston, but also Sam Houston's son, Temple Houston. Fascinating, including because right next to it is a book called Sam Houston and the Alamo Avengers, which gives a slightly different version of the Alamo. And over time, maybe new historical information became available. Maybe different things ended up opening up. But if you read the Alamo, the story of the Alamo between these two books, you get very different perspectives. And that's what you're supposed to have. And then right next to it is this one here, which I understand is also a classic, 13 Days to Glory by Lon Tinkle. Again, what do you think 13 Days to Glory was about here in Texas? And then we have another book here, Texas in 1837. Hey, guys, what happened in Texas in 1837? Anybody know? This book here is edited by Andrew Forrest Muir. Now, I just want you to know, these books here have been here at Camp America. I've been doing everything I can to preserve them and protect them, insofar as the elements have provided and allowed for, and insofar as we have the capacity to do so. Here's a question. Maybe you're asking, why do I have them? Do you want them? Do you want these books? What about this one? T for Texas, a state full of folklore. Dun, 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 dun. Dun. Is it because we got armadillos here at Fort America? See, I didn't mean to lie. I'm not the only one who lives here. I'm not the only one in Fort America, just so you know. All right? All right. See you soon. That was